What do you do when you have more questions than answers? If they're questions about video games, we got you. Welcome to Triple Click, where we bring the games to you. This week, we open up the listener mailbag, answering questions about the future of the metaverse, playing games on easy mode, bad endings that ruin the game, and more. I'm Maddy Myers.
I'm Jason Schreier.
And I'm Kirk Hamilton, and hi there.
Hello.
Hey,
it's
nice
us.
to see you both. It sure is. Here we are.
Us. It's another episode of Triple Click.
Happy January.
Yeah.
Clickety click click, as I always say,
Click.
every
Yeah.
week. Except when I don't, which is most of the time.
That's your catchphrase.
Right.
Yeah.
Maddy Myers. Clickety click click.
If you think that catchphrase owns, and you've thought that every single time I've said it, which has been more times than I could possibly
Myriad.
count, definitely
Yeah.
not just the once, you might want to think about supporting the show by becoming a Max Fun member from our good old network, Maximum Fun.
Yeah.
And if you went to MaximumFun.org/join, you could become a member and you would get a monthly bonus episode. And this month it'd feel like you get an extra one because we released a Beans cast about
We
the
did.
Matrix Resurrections and all three prior Matrix movies, kind of early, a little bit early on the January Beans cast this month.
A little bit of early beans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just because, people are talking Matrix already. We just wanted to get our take out there. Well, it's hot beans on the fire, but there's so many other beans in the backlog. And yeah, so MaximumFun.org/join. You should check it out. Check out some bonus-odes. And one other bit of really cool info. Can't wait for this. We are all playing Suikoden 2 because two of us, me and Kirk, lost a bet to one Mr. Jason Schreier. And so we are going to get through the first chunk of the game for our February 17th episode. And the first chunk, Jason, do you want to describe what you would characterize as the first chunk of Suikoden 2 for the listeners who are playing along?
Yeah, so a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to write up like a brief guide with some tips and also info on the missable characters that you have to recruit at specific times or else you can never get them.
Maybe you shouldn't call them missable characters because that makes it sound like they can be missed, but you mean the opposite, correct? Like characters that you don't want to miss by accident.
No, I mean missable characters in that you can miss them as opposed to everybody else you can go and get anytime you want. Missable is a warning here. It's not something that's saying
Watch
you
out.
have permission to miss them. It's not missable as a permission. It's missable as a cautionary adjective.
You could call them misrisks, but it doesn't really roll off the tongue
I
quite
like
as well.
that.
It does not.
That sounds really hard to say.
A couple of things. I'll be putting together a brief guide and tips for you guys. And I'll probably drop it in the Discord. We have a great little Discord channel where we're talking about Suikoden 2, and I'll try to figure out if I can get it in the show notes at some point. But there's also, I already actually did one for Kotaku, which I will put in the show notes a while back. It's just a little bit dated because it's from 2014. But so we will be playing up until at least the point where you get your own castle. Spoilers, you get your own castle in this game.
In real life, too. So I'm looking forward to that.
They mail you one.
It's about the first, 8 hours, depending on how fast you play. And that's what we will be talking about.
Jason claimed before the call he could get there in 2 hours. So how hard could it be? That's what I'm telling myself in the mirror every day.
Maddy, there's actually a side quest in this game that you can only get if you get to a certain point with under 12 hours on your play clock. So it's actually, you can zip through this game. But anyway, so Suikoden 2 Triple Play Part 1, February 17th. That's when we will start kicking off our video game club for the year, playing the best JRPG ever made.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
So without further ado, let's get to this week's episode, shall we?
Let's.
Yeah, let's do it.
We shall.
This week, we are opening up the old listener question bag. We got a giant bag full of questions.
Listener question bag.
Yeah,
of
it's
mail,
not a
as we
mailbag.
call it.
Because mail, that's out of date. This is electronic mail we're talking about here.
We were trying to get a mailbag, but then U.S. Postal Service Commissioner Louis DeJoy destroyed the USPS, so we can't get a mailbag
That's
anymore.
the only reason we use an email address for this. It's just because of the USPS struggles.
Otherwise, we would have a PO box. No, I have a bag full of mail. You guys can see it on camera, of course. It's a bag. It has, for some reason, it has a dollar sign, like a dollar figure on the front.
Most bags just have a dollar sign on them.
Well, yeah. And it only has like 5 emails printed out, like really specifically selected ones.
Right. Jason's printer ran out of ink.
Yeah.
The truth is, I stole this bag from the bank, and I'm just using it. All right, let's get to it. We have lots of burning questions to get through. As always, you can reach us with your own questions at tripleclick@maximumfun.org. We can't respond to every single email we get, but we do our best to read every single one, and every single question goes in our bag. In fact, a couple of these questions that I have pulled out for us today are 2 years old. They're from 2020. So it is, even if you don't get your question read quickly, you might get it read a couple of years from now. So never stop listening to this podcast.
Right. You just got to stick with us.
You can't. If you've ever emailed us, you're on the hook now.
It's the truth. Bing! Hello, everybody. It's Kirk here. I am editing the episode on Tuesday, January 18th, and I just wanted to note that we recorded this episode a little bit earlier this week. We recorded it before the weekend, actually, because Jason Schreier was traveling, which means that we recorded this before the absolute whopper of a news story hit that Microsoft purchased Activision Blizzard for $68.7 billion, which is pretty wild. I'm, probably the least qualified of the three of us to talk about industry punditry and analysis, but even I know that is a really big purchase. Good Lord. So anyways, we're not going to talk about it on this episode, but we'll probably discuss it some next week. And I just wanted to acknowledge that is, like the biggest games industry news story of the year and maybe ever. And I didn't want people to listen and think, why aren't they talking about this huge thing that happened? So that's why we recorded it before that happened, but we will probably discuss it next week. All right, back to the show. Bing!
Maddy, why don't you go first and read us this first one?
Sure. So Aaron writes, do you think we will ever see VR and haptic accessories approaching the level of Ready Player One in our lifetime? Sorry I used that shitty book and movie as a reference, but it's the best example of what I'm driving at. I just turned 40 last week, and my impending mortality has me thinking of things that I may never experience. I'm just going to pause and say, I guess Aaron's turning 42 this year. Happy birthday to Aaron.
Yeah, this is from 2020.
Anyway, Aaron continues. Real immersive outstanding VR is one of those things. Will we get HD visuals with no cords, or our own hands and fingers in our games, and 360-degree treadmills in the next 30 years? Can I spend my sunset years in a nursing home lost in a believable virtual world?
I think it'd be pretty funny if that technology came to fruition in 20 years or so, but all you could play on it was Skyrim, and it's just still Skyrim. On
that would still be great, though, is the thing.
Right.
You know? Wouldn't be that bad.
Skyrim 50th anniversary edition.
That would
That'd be cool.
I've played Skyrim in VR. It's pretty good. Yeah, I do think, let me think how to answer this question. It's kind of funny because this question is from 2 years ago, and some of this technology has already kind of happened in that the Oculus Quest, the Quest 2, is playable wirelessly from a gaming PC, and they've added the ability to do hand tracking just with that kind of cheap, or inexpensive headset. Mm-hmm. They just announced PSVR 2, which is very powerful from what I gather from the specs. There's all these the really powerful ones like the Valve Index are pretty mighty. They can do a lot of stuff.
And of course, Facebook has since announced that they're a metaverse company and invested.
Right.
I mean,
they're
right. So in 30 years, 30 years ago, it was 1992. I think in 30 years, a lot of stuff is going to happen. Even though I think that our vision of what it's going to look like is incomplete, because it always is. We never really know what's going to happen in 30 years. And I think thinking of it as in terms of VR like today, but better, isn't actually how it's going to be, right? Because that's never how it is. So I'm not, a sci-fi author, and I don't quite have the imagination to think of what it will look like. But I do, I've been around long enough to know that it will probably just be very different. And I do think that some of the stuff in Ready Player One, for all of its faults as a story, it is a very enthusiastic envisioning of what really incredible virtual reality could be like. But there are these sort of questions that it raises that it doesn't really answer. There are logistical questions, especially in that movie, which I actually think is kind of, it's like a B minus, but it's sort of a fun movie. But like there are questions in that movie when you're watching, you're like, wait a minute, what? Like, because they're just, you'll see them. One of the funniest scenes in that movie is when there's this epic war going on. Did the two of you see this movie?
No, but I did see the
I
trailer,
read the
so
book.
I'm familiar with the epic war.
This is Steven Spielberg's adaptation
One,
of this book.
2011?
And there's a scene, the book is from around then. The movie is only a few years old.
Yeah, I think the book is 2011. That's why that year is in my head.
Fairly recent. And there's just a part in it, like near the end, where there's a huge war happening, and all of these people are like fighting on both sides, and the actual battle is like sweet because it's like Freddy Krueger and the Iron Giant, and everybody's dressed up as their favorite whatever, and they're all doing battle, and it's kind of like Fortnite, but like it looks super vivid and real because it's CG movie, and then it just cuts to like the real world, and it really kind of feels like for a minute the movie is just making fun of everybody because it shows them all, and they're all like wearing their headsets, and they're like just like in their offices like waving around looking like you do when you play VR, looking like dorks, and then it cuts back to the action, and it's this super exciting action, but it raises all these questions of like, okay, but wait a minute, how are they moving around through the space? Because like they're sitting in their offices, and yet in the game they're like jumping around hundreds of feet. So there's like a lot of sort of geographic and tracking questions that are raised and never answered. And I don't really know, like when Aaron asked about 360-degree treadmills, I've used those. Those exist. Like they would always be demoing them at GDC, like back when VR was first coming out, whenever that was, 5 or 6 years ago. And they're kind of clunky and they don't really work. And then it's like, okay, well, can you hang yourself up in like a Vitruvian Man gyroscope where you're like moving I don't know, like, or haptic suits where there's resistance so it can like simulate walking, and I don't know, there's a scene in Ready Player One where a guy gets kicked in the crotch and his suit like kicks him in the crotch because they're simulating it, and I'm like, I don't think I would want that technology.
Yeah, I feel like you could just cut out that part of the suit so that wouldn't be a concern for you.
Remove the boot to the crotch feature.
Yeah, maybe like safety on the crotch region of the suit.
But maybe that's considered cheating, and it's like immoral to cut out the part of your crotch, and you have to just be ethical in online games and just accept whomever might kick you.
What if you just move your body, like twist your torso a little bit so you can't really get kicked in the crotch?
Right.
It depends on the server that you're on. You can go on the like full crotch vulnerability servers.
I mean, we joke, but like I do feel like that is the reality in 30 years, is that it's like just weird stuff, sex stuff we can't even imagine, but also like weird arguments like about like how you can have advertising or like political campaigns in VR. Like I feel like we've already seen that unfold in like Fortnite and Animal Crossing and Second Life. It's been going on for years. Like there's real estate agents that work in Second Life and sell virtual spaces, and like that whole labor of virtual worlds thing is so fascinating to me, and is absolutely not what Ready Player One is about. Ready Player One's about the fantasy of it all, but I think that's what the future of it looks like, is much more weird, mundane problems and drama,
Yeah, Ready Player One we don't need to get sidetracked on Ready Player One, but it does sidestep a lot of the most interesting questions about this stuff by making the Oasis, is what it's called, the metaverse in that fictional world, is this like idyllic place created by this guy who like kept it totally free from corporate influence and advertising. So it's just like, we're just going to make this as simple as possible so we can just tell this hero's story. Where actually the reality is going to be way more complicated. Can I raise a point related to something else that Aaron mentioned, which is just playing video games as we get older? As a person now in my 40s, I think about this more and more, and like, I'm skeptical. Like, I've thought about this in the past. I've thought, man, it's going to be cool when I'm old because I can just like play video games in the retirement home, and that'll be sweet. But then I think about how bad video games are with accessibility in general, and how as you get older, your body does deteriorate in these ways, and things that were easy for you to do when you were younger get harder. I've noticed tendon stuff with my hands when I'm playing, and I'm playing, like a video game with a lot of QTEs in it where you have to tap the button, and I really like won't do it with my thumb anymore because I need to like preserve my thumb for playing guitar, and because that alone hurts it, and I'm like tapping it with my index finger, and just realizing that a lot of these games aren't very accessible, and I have my doubts that VR is going to be appropriately accessible for older people by the time we're older and we want to be doing it, it could well be that it's this kind of frustrating thing where it's like, well, we could be doing it, but it's just like not really that easy to use.
Well, I guess the fantasy is that it would be easy to use, and it's just you put a headset on and like,
right.
I mean, the Kinect might be the closest piece of technology we've seen to like what the future could look like, but that has become something else entirely, and didn't really have a super effective use for games. But maybe when it comes to the metaverse, maybe we could see more stuff like that popping up. I don't know. I tend to actually agree with your one of your earlier points, Kirk, where like you feel like we're just going into this blind and we just don't even know what we don't know about what the future could look like. Yeah. I was just thinking about how in 2003, when I got my first cell phone, like my little flip phone thing, and I was using it to like text people in high school and stuff, and it was the coolest thing ever. It never even occurred to me that like, oh man, I wish I could have email and internet on this thing. But then along comes the iPhone, and that's the most revolutionary device of the century, and that just changes everything.
And a camera everywhere.
Right,
like that
everything.
Has fundamentally
Camera,
changed
internet,
everything
like,
to have a camera. Every single person has a camera and the internet and instant social media ways to share everything they see. Yeah,
so
it's wild.
that just like wouldn't have even been something I would have fantasized about at the time. And I think sometimes like even the most imaginative sci-fi writers aren't really like can't really fathom what the pace of technology is going to look like and what the future is going to look like. So yeah, I don't know. I don't really think that like the Ready Player One existence is what it's going to be. And then again, I also think that like a lot of this metaverse talk is people finding solutions to problems that don't really exist, as opposed to finding these tools that like, wow, solve problems that we didn't even know we had. And I think like Facebook going all in on this idea of the metaverse is just like very unappealing to a lot of people. Like, I don't think a lot of people want to go into a world where they're like in VR all day in the metaverse taking meetings from their virtual offices.
Yeah.
I don't really want to.
Right. I think that if you think of it in terms of it being like this VR world that we're all sort of imagining, a shared VR space, that maybe it's not something that people want. I can see Facebook just thinking, okay, this area is ripe for the kind of invention that is like an iPhone, like for something that is the thing that we don't realize we want. And so we're just going to kind of start doing development in it because this kind of a virtual space could lead to whatever it is, whatever the thing is that in 10 years we're like, oh yeah, like when Facebook talked about Meta and the metaverse, we were like, oh, I don't want that. But we hadn't thought of X thing that so-and-so introduced. That's something it's like, oh, this is sweet. Like everybody would want to do this. And that does seem kind of possible with this technology.
All right, let's keep going. Kirk, you want to take this next one?
Sure. This comes from Corzo1212. Corzo writes, during quarantine, I found myself returning to a lot of games, particularly RPGs, that I either didn't like the first time around or never previously finished. One main thing I've been doing differently, however, is I've been setting the games on easy. Not only have I been able to play through and experience more games this way, my enjoyment of them has changed for the better as well. A younger version of me would never dream of this, but now I'm finding more and more that I start new games on easy while leaving the higher difficulties for replays or series I'm already familiar with. I'm curious how you all view difficulty settings. Has your opinion about easy mode changed over the years? Have you ever returned to a game and played it on a lower setting and found that you enjoy it more that way? And why do we apply guilt and shame into dropping the difficulty to get through particularly challenging parts?
I have done this when I hate a game and have to play it, or like I hate a part of a game and want to play through it. I was playing. Do you guys remember that game 13 Sentinels that I talked about a couple of years ago?
Yeah,
that benefited from easy.
Yeah, so that was a game where like the visual novel, there's a visual novel component and then an RTS component, and the visual novel part was what was really appealing about the game. The RTS part super sucked, and so I set that to easy and just blazed through it because it was terrible. And I've also done that with like games I was reviewing where I was just like, I don't want to play any more of this. I'm going to drop it to easy.
Yeah, I've done that too. I've even done it for this show, for Guardians of the Galaxy. I dropped it to easy to get further in the story because I was like, I want to get further in this game. I want to know what happens, but I'm not enjoying the combat. It's really repetitive. The boss fights, I didn't find fun in that game. I don't need to go on and on, but like it's a situation where, I'm trying to play more of something, and especially when I'm editing stories at work about games that have stories, it can be useful to just play through something and see everything. And there's something different about playing through something as opposed to just watching the cutscenes online too, because then at least I have some sense of how the game works, even if I'm playing the easiest possible version of it. I'm trying to remember if I knocked Halo down to easy at various points to get through parts of it. That game wasn't too hard for me, so possibly not. But I've done things like that, especially if I'm covering something for work or if I just want to get through it. And I don't have shame about it. Just to speak to the part of Corzo's email about that, I used to have shame about it as well. When I was younger, I couldn't have ever imagined doing that. I never would have done it, even for games I was reviewing professionally early in my career. I would be playing everything at the very least on normal or hard, and that was like, I would be priding myself on that, which now I'm like, what the fuck was I doing? Like, what? But also back then, games did not often include the option that is almost standard now, which is changing the difficulty setting at any time. And like 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, I feel like it was relatively uncommon for that to be an option. And nowadays you can flip it around, and that rules. Like I love that that's standard now, and it makes it less of an intense decision at the beginning of a game where you're like, am I normal, quote unquote? What is normal? Who can truly say what I'm going to feel about this video game when I'm 10 hours in? And that's nice. I like that.
Yeah, there is the thing when you're a game reviewer, and the way it especially used to be, where you feel this sort of pressure where if you didn't play it on hard or whatever, if you're not good at the game, then people are going to question your opinion on it. And then the more established I became, the less I cared, because I was like, whatever, man.
Same.
Like, I'm good at this. I know what I'm doing. Like, people know to trust me. Two games that
I beat Returnal in 7 days.
Exactly. Well, Kirk's playing everything on very hard, so like for him, it's like bumping
Right,
it down
for him,
to hard.
it's dropping it to hard. Yeah.
There are games that I like that are hard, that I enjoy the difficulty. Though a game like Guardians of the Galaxy is a great example of a game where it's like, this, I just don't think this is all that fun. I don't like the way that it's designed that much, so who cares? I like the story. And there are games that I kick it down to easy because I think it actually makes the game work better narratively and just a more fun experience. Two examples are the Wolfenstein series, Machine Games, Wolfenstein games, especially the New Order. That game is really fun on easy, where if you play it on normal, it's kind of weird. BJ Blazkowicz is kind of squishy on normal. Like, you can't actually just run into a room and just like destroy everybody in the way that the game kind of wants you to, but you never really can. You're taking cover a lot in that game because you get killed pretty quickly. And it's fun. I mean, it's like it's well designed, but playing it on easy, you're just this like Nazi murder machine, and it's fun. And I actually have found that is true of the Doom games, the newer Doom games as well. Those games are really fun on the harder level. I mean, I liked 2016 more than the sequel is called, though I gather the sequel is actually really good on hard difficulties if you're good at it, because it's so complex. But it's pretty fun to play those games on easy because you're the Doomslayer. Like, you just are like, whatever, man. Like, I'm just going to blast through these levels. And there's such a fun exploration component to those games and finding all the little hidden secrets in every level. It just changes the focus of the game, and it actually makes combat really fun. So I think that some games really benefit from that too. And I agree, Maddy, I really like that games make it possible to change the difficulty. And I like when games don't tie even achievements to that, because I don't care about achievements, but there's still just something, it's a vestige of that, like, well, if you kick it down to normal, you can't get the special achievement because you're a quitter, and I don't like that. So I appreciate when they're just like, whatever, do whatever you want, play however you want, it's fine.
Yeah, no more guilt and shame for changing the difficulty.
Please, yes, we have enough of that in the rest of our lives. Video games
Even the concept, even the way that the verbiage we use here, the language we use here to describe like knocking
Beating
it down to a lower difficulty, like even that is kind of like, it has this interesting
higher and lower.
We should say knocking it down to a better difficulty.
I played it on the worst difficulty.
Yeah, as opposed to the
hard mode.
best one, the one that feels the best. Yeah, that's how I like to play games.
Let's keep going. I'll read this next one. This is from Kath. Kath says, I was listening to your Beans cast about the MCU for Max Fun members. Hint, hint, to any other listener. And Jason didn't like The Falcon and the Winter Soldier because of its ending made me think about video games I adored until the end, and then it soured the experience. So here's my question for you. Do you have the same experience with any other games, either AAA or indie, where you adored the story, but the ending was not a good experience and gave you a bad memory of it? Yes, absolutely. I will answer this because I have one that comes to mind immediately. Kirk, do you know what I'm thinking of?
Yes.
Prey, the video game Prey. which is a game I adored until the ending and really the last like chunk of the game, the last act, the last quarter of the game, where suddenly it turns from a game where you can like approach every problem in any way you want and sneak around and be stealthy and hack and just do things in whatever way you want, to like this enemy horde swarming at you, like you have to fight them to survive type of game. And then the ending itself has such a stupid twist that I just like said, "Are you kidding me?" at my screen after I saw that. But yeah, that whole last chunk of the game really soured what was otherwise an incredible experience for me.
I have a bunch. Like I talked about it on the show a bit, but Deathloop was one where we talked about the Prey ending as well.
Yes.
I didn't like the twist
Another
in
arcane
Deathloop.
game.
I wrote about it at Polygon. I will not spoil the twist here, but I didn't think it worked, and then it kind of it was tough because I enjoyed so much about like the first 90% of that game, and I think I put it on my honorable mention in our Games of the Year episode because I still thought a lot of it was really cool, but I was very disappointed in the ending, and it made me a lot less excited about like the prospect of DLC and other stories in that world, because I was just like, I don't know about this. But another example is Spider-Man Miles Morales. The ending really didn't work for me, and maybe it'll be out by the time we publish this. I don't know. I wrote an essay about why I didn't like the ending of that game literally a year ago and never published it. And I keep meaning to put it up. Maybe people could peer pressure me into putting it up, but
You should, because I want to read it just because I remember like thinking the story to that game was like pretty good, and I'm very interested in reading your take.
The end just didn't work for me for a bunch of reasons, and everything up to that I really liked, but there were like a couple specific plot choices they made at the end that I didn't like. And
I guess I'm kind of remembering how it ended, and I can see that.
I'm sure if you read the essay, you'd be like, "Oh, right," and then you'd agree
I've
with
sort
me
of
100% because like
Yeah.
I'm so smart, and you would like be totally convinced by my argument.
No, I think I would be, and I don't remember. The story for that game kind of went in one ear and out the other.
It's also fine if people love the ending. I could see how someone would. I mean, I don't know. I'm answering Cass' question. And then the other one that's like an obvious one and doesn't quite fit Cass' question, but comes to mind is BioShock Infinite, where I feel like more just the first half of that game has some really strong ideas and some really cool stuff that it introduces about like how Elizabeth's tears through reality work. And then it just really goes off the rails. And like, especially the ending, I was like, what is going on here? Which again, I will not spoil some of the twists in that game just in case there's a listener out there who wants to give it a shot. But oh boy, some of those twists.
Yeah,
no, thank
Infinite's
you.
a funny one. That was one that I was going to say as well, because it isn't just like the ending itself, which is a lot to keep track of to begin with, but it's right. It's just the way that the game kind of spirals toward it, which is, I would also say, a complaint I would level at The Last of Us Part 2. At least for me, it was a game that really starts strong and seems to be very, very compelling and interesting and well put together. And then as it just keeps going and going and going, and eventually it's like, this should have ended already. Even, I mean, the first BioShock kind of feels that way too, where it actually would have had a sensational ending if it had just ended, you know, upon your first meeting with that very important character and the big reveal. And then, of course, there's this extra ending that doesn't ruin the game. I'm not really like the game or the ending, ruined the thing for me kind of a person, especially with video games. Though, I mean, I'm sure there are examples, but a lot of times I'm like, you know, I really liked this game, like Deathloop, didn't love the ending, but like I loved this game, so I don't really care. And a lot of times, actually, I'm kind of, I'll feel the other way. I'm just seeing Horizon Zero Dawn as in a later question, and that's a game where that just comes to mind as a game where it didn't need to have a good ending. I kind of didn't expect it to. And then I thought I had a really lovely, great ending. And I was like so pleasantly surprised by the ending that it actually really sealed the game together for me as a much greater experience than I think I had expected going in.
I've actually been thinking about that ending a lot recently because the new one is about to come out, and that game ends with like some cool teases for like what could be to come.
But I'm also like, how are they going to follow it up? Because I really liked the ending, so I feel like they have a challenge there, which is following up that story. And I'm excited to see what they do. But yeah, that's almost like the opposite problem where I agree. I really like the ending so much that it's like, oh, we're going to do this again? Oh, okay.
You can't pull that magic trick twice, so they got to do something new. Yeah.
Let's keep going. Maddy, you want to read this next one?
Sure. So Tom writes, big fan of the show. got a question. Thanks so much, Tom. Should have skipped that part. Tom continues, how do you get back into a complex game that you played some of, but then set aside? Over the holidays, I've been trying to resume some games that I played partway through earlier in the year, like Deathloop and Horizon Zero Dawn. But in both cases, I found returning to the game overwhelming and confusing. I'd forgotten the story points, the characters, the controls, and the mechanics. Though games sometimes have tutorial information in the menus to refresh your memory, or quest logs where you can recap the story, they're rarely enough to help you properly get to grips with a game again. In the case of Deathloop, I think I'm simply too confused and I'm not sure I'll pick it up again. Do you guys have any rituals or tricks to get back into games that you've left by the wayside?
Yeah, I do. My ritual is I load it up, I stare at it, and then I turn it off.
If you do that enough times, you'll be able to get back into it.
Eventually, you just kind of through osmosis, you remember it, and it's as though you never left.
This happens to me all the time. I wrote this article for Kotaku forever ago about Rise of the Tomb Raider because I had this happen to me where I had set the game down and then picked it back up, and it was right before one of those sort of Uncharted-esque like QTE sequences where Lara has to run across a bunch of collapsing things, and she runs and you jump and you run and it's collapsing, and then the last jump is too far and you have to throw your grappling hook. And like it, because there's like a little white, it's like whatever, how the grappling hook areas are special.
Yeah. There's a little sparkly doorway that you have to enter.
Like a grappling hook region. And I just didn't remember because I hadn't played it in a while. So I played through this sequence like 15 times, and she just kept dying on these like spikes too, because that game has like brutal death animations.
Really
and I was like, what am I missing? And I finally went and like scroll around in like a let's play on YouTube until I found that part. And I was like, oh, the grappling hook, right? So I've had this happen a lot. I don't know there's a good answer for it. Deathloop is probably really tough to get back into. God of War, this happened to me recently. I was like, I'm going to play that on PS5 at 60 frames per second in my New Game Plus. And it's like all these combos are unlocked and combat. And I was like, how do I play this? And I kind of just couldn't get back in the rhythm.
That happened to me too, Kirk. And I keep thinking about starting a new game without New Game Plus.
Right. I think the New Game Plus. Easier. Yes, I think that would. And I think that actually that is the advice that I would give to Tom is if you want to get back into the game, don't start over, just start over and start from the beginning. Keep your save where it is, but I would say play the first hour of the game again. Like if you really want to play it, if you're like, damn, I think I would have liked this, but I've kind of lost the groove. If you play the first hour again, you'll probably play through the tutorials, kind of get back in the zone, remember what's going on with the story, and you'll be like, oh, okay, I kind of remember this now. And then try loading up your save that's farther along, and that'll probably help.
That's a good idea.
That's good advice. Yeah,
I like
try that
too. I find that it's just really hard to go back to one of these games after you've lost your momentum, and that's why and I'm sure many of the listeners out there have just like an entire library of unfinished games, because you start playing something, you're into it, you play 10, 15 hours of it, and then something else comes along that you're really excited about, and so you move on to that, and then you just never go back. And then you have that little voice inside your head that's like, hey, I really liked playing such and such. Tales of Arise. I should go and play more of that, but you just never do.
Yeah. Well, at least with Horizon Zero Dawn, you could set it to easy, and then you could switch it back. Also, just
true.
saying.
Well, with Horizon Zero Dawn, it helps if you remember that you can actually slow down time.
Oh my God! Don't remind me. Don't remind me. But actually, for real though, it is nice that you can slow down time.
That's true.
Game.
That's kind of like the equivalent of Jason not sprinting in Half-Life, Maddy not remembering about slow mo.
No, I don't think it's the equivalent.
We all have our things.
Similar. Yes, absolutely.
Kirk, you can take this next one.
All right. This comes from Peter. Peter writes, hello, Kirk, Maddy, and Jason. Hi, Peter. Peter writes, I was talking to a friend the other day about gaming terminology that people use and that often makes no sense. I've personally find the word campaign irritating when used to describe a game's story mode. To my mind, that word does not fit there. When I hear campaign, I picture someone holding up protest signs or trying to get voted into local government. That's very civic-minded of you, Peter. Peter writes, I've got others as well, but I'm interested to see if there are any accepted gaming terms that any of you find annoying or ill-fitting. I have a few. I wrote down a few. I love this question.
I have so many.
It's amazing. I just want to say it's so funny that Peter thinks that when hearing the word campaign, because I don't. I instead think of a military campaign every single time.
Which is where it comes from.
Yeah.
Correct, but it's now in so many games that don't have anything
Yep.
to do with the military. So like I think of it as a Call of Duty thing because I think
Yep.
that may be
think that's
either
right.
the game that popularized it or one of the first iterations of the word campaign, where it makes sense, I guess, even though it's really corny. But anytime it's in like, I don't know, like if I were talking about like the Chicory campaign, like that would sound absurd for a game
Right.
like that.
No,
Like,
it is
what
kind
am
of
I
crap.
Well,
saying?
it's only really used when specifying like versus multiplayer, like I'm
Right,
playing a
of
campaign
course.
versus. So it has to be a game that has a multiplayer mode that is prominent in some way. So like the Halo campaign, the Call of Duty campaign. You wouldn't say the Chicory campaign because it doesn't have multiplayer.
It's true. There should be a
Right.
multiplayer for Chicory, though. That would be awesome. But anyway.
It is. It's just a weird one because it could just be called the story mode, and the fact that it's
Yeah.
called the campaign really is just a Call of Dutyism because it's like, well, you're playing through the whatever military campaign of World War II Eastern Front or something, and it's not applicable, or it is a very odd one. I was thinking about beat, which I think is one that we use with video games, like beating a video game. And Maddie, I know that
Yep.
I wanted to ask you, I know you're very fond of
I
using
know.
the term
I've
beat,
tried
but
to
I think
stop
you do it.
because the listeners have pointed out that I say it even in situations where it makes no sense to refer to
But
a game.
I feel like you kind of do it on purpose, though, right? Like it's a little bit arch the way that you use it. Oh no, really? I always kind of assumed it was a little.
That's
ironic.
very kind of you to assume that. Yeah, no, I've been doing it ironically.
everything
I've been
Maddy
using
says
this
is a little
stupid
ironic.
term for my entire life as a bit, and it's
Well,
definitely not just a bad
Because
habit.
you'll
I'm
use it
still
for
in.
like, I don't know, like Life is Strange. You'll be like, I beat
know.
Life is Strange. It's like,
know.
did you beat the game really? Like
Yeah,
that game?
I did.
Maddie, every single negative quality you should just say is a bit.
I'm doing it as a
Actually,
joke.
Every single.
Me like putting off cleaning the bathroom for just another week
just
more.
a bit.
It's like a fun,
funny bit,
It's
yeah.
ironic. Like who would expect that of me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, can I give you guys some terms that I
Sure.
hate to
Please.
death? Okay, one is going gold because it doesn't make sense anymore, and so I hate it when anybody uses it. It doesn't even in today's
Yeah.
modern day, like the concept of printing
Yes.
a disc version doesn't even
Especially
exist
given
anymore.
how unfinished games are when they
Yeah.
come out.
Yeah, when
right.
they go gold. Yeah.
Yeah.
Two is the word engine, which has become so skewed as to have lost all meaning, and it's just used in so many different
How do you
ways.
feel about gameplay, by the way? Because that one is one that I'm like, if I can get a
Yeah.
writer to use any other word, I will make them. There are some very few cases where I will allow gameplay, but
Yeah.
most of the time people say it when they just mean game or I did something. Like
Right.
some
I
other
mean, it's
verb can go there.
Kind of a way of distinguishing between the thing you do versus the story you are told, but also like a less relevant distinction. It's a useful concept, but there is certainly better language you can use than game.
And then the other one, this is more of a game criticism thing, but really I see it a lot in game conversations, is the word bombastic, which nobody knows
This
what
is
this
just
means.
Jason's valid pet peeve.
Oh, is that the one people are using
Okay,
now?
so the word
Oh.
bombastic, what the word bombastic actually means is speaking in flowery tones. It's like what you would use to describe a politician, like using highfalutin
Yes.
language, like saying things that mean nothing, puffery, essentially. The way it's used in the video game world is to mean the explosive. The word bombastic has absolutely nothing to do with explosions or cinematics or anything.
It's too
yet it
late,
is
man.
used
Do you get mad at people
constantly.
who say literally? Is this like
not
that
at
for
all.
you?
No.
Okay.
I
'Cause
think I believe no, Maddie. I believe very strongly actually that language evolves and language changes and like words change meaning. But bombastic, like there's absolutely no. It's only like game critics that use it to describe like the latest Call of Duty. Like this Call of Duty
I
trailer
don't
is
know.
bombastic.
I feel like I've seen some Marvel movies called bombastic.
Yes.
It's
It's not just game people.
It's
Yeah.
okay. It's not so broadly used in a way that like literally is where it can be adopted to another use. It's just people using it wrong. Like it's not a word that should fit there.
But okay, let me challenge you on that because I understand that they're using it incorrectly and that is not the definition. However, it sounds so right that you could
It does.
almost honestly make an argument that because the word bombast is so evocative of
It
explosions,
sounds
that it
like-
could just change to mean that, even though I understand your complaint.
It's got
So-
the word bomb in it right at the beginning, and then it's like ass, which is like bomb blast. It's like
Yep.
you're saying bomblastic. You're saying
Right.
that, and that's what it means.
Maybe we
So-
should invent a new word that is bomblastic, and that word means explosive.
Well, the actual problem is that in 1995, the musical artist Shaggy released his third studio album, Boombastic, which included a song called Bombastic about Mr. Bombastic, which really is what started this whole all of these
Noted
problems.
game critic Shaggy, because as Jason said before, the only people who make this mistake are game critics, and we can all agree that's true. So that's
Right.
really where the problem originated. It's interesting we're
it
going
came
back
from
to that.
Shaggy.
So
Yeah.
now is the song Mr. Bombastic about a gentleman who regularly exaggerates and speaks using
Highfalutin
overly
language,
exciting
flowery
language?
No,
language?
it is about a woman who calls Shaggy, the narrator of the song, Mr. Bombastic, Mr. Boombastic.
So that
could mean anything.
Right.
She
Is
could
he saying
be
that's a cool thing to be
criticizing
called, or
him.
is she being like, dude, you're so bombastic, chill.
Shaggy doesn't know what the word means, but she actually was criticizing his manner.
Right. It was some self-criticism.
You have to do some artistic interpretation here, but I
Wow.
can read you a couple of lyrics.
Okay, great.
I
Boombastic,
can't
tell
believe
me
we got here.
fantastic, touch me on my back. She called Mr. Romantic. Tell me fantastic. I'm You get the gist of it.
It's kind of a fun word to rhyme with. I get where Shaggy's coming
Yeah,
from.
it's a
with
fun.
this one.
Exactly,
yeah,
it's fun.
it
to
is.
rhyme
It's a
with.
fun
It
word to
is.
use. It's a fun word. I understand why people
It
misuse
is.
it.
It's a good word.
It's a fun word. It should mean explosive. I'm sure I've misused it, and I have no regrets. That's my stance on this.
I never have, because Jason has been telling me about this for like 7 years, and I've internalized
Well,
it.
Kirk, you are the reason why I say cliched instead of cliche.
That makes
which
me very
I don't know
happy.
why I'm still doing it, because it's in dictionaries now. Like, I need to move on.
Yeah,
but like, you
it's
told me
okay.
that one early on, and like cliched is the adjective
stuck.
form of cliche, and I
Yes.
still fix that every time for no reason.
I think
no reason.
Well, there's nothing wrong with being correct. Even
Love
if,
to be a
even
little
if
bit
the
of a
language-
pedant about something
Right.
really specific. It can be fun.
You're a professional editor. You should be. It's your prerogative.
All right. Let's squeeze in one little
Okay.
more bombastic question before we go. Ryan says, "Hi Triple Click. I was wondering if you could do a Monster Hunter episode. I've never played any of the games, but I keep hearing about how great they are, and people really seem to enjoy them. Any advice for newcomers to the franchise would be a plus. While we are not going to do a Monster Hunter episode, maybe
Well,
Kirk
that's a
can
grand
give us
proclamation. Kirk could put it
Kirk
as
can
his
give
bet
us some
game at some
advice.
point and force
That's
us
true.
to do one.
That would
could
be tough.
happen.
No, because I wouldn't make you play a game that's like 100 hours.
But Kirk can give us some advice on how to get into Monster Hunter.
Yeah, give us some advice.
So I can give Ryan some advice as someone who was not into Monster Hunter and then became into Monster Hunter with World, and this is especially applicable, I bet, because Rise is now out on PC, and Rise is really, really good. Monster Hunter Rise, which was on Switch before and is fantastic on Switch. I would prefer playing it on Switch because it's great on Switch, but it is also on PC now, and I'm sure some people are seeing it and thinking, kind of want to play that. Especially, I'm sure it'll be on Steam sale later this year. So my advice is, this is a game that becomes very, very fun once you know how it works. So if you want to get into it, there is always a demo. Download the demo, but the demo isn't really going to sell you because it's going to throw you into the deep end and you're just going to go fight a monster and you'll be like, what? This sucks. Like, I have this sword, but it's so slow and this combat is so weird and hard and I feel so like lethargic and what the hell? So you got to put a little bit of work in. So it is a game where like you have to learn a few things before you will appreciate it. But then once you do that, it becomes very fun to like learn more. So my advice would be, there are some tutorial videos. Pick a weapon, like the longsword's a really cool one, especially in Rise. It has a super cool moveset. And you're going to want to learn just the basic combos of that weapon. And to do that, watch a YouTube video. There are some that I watched. I forget the name of the YouTube channel right now, but I'll link this in the show notes. Just watch the longsword video. It's like 10 minutes and the guy will just go through all the different combos you can do and then just go to the training room and like do those for a little while. And also I will say, to shout out Maddy's publication, that Russ Frushtick, our friend from the Besties, got into Monster Hunter Rise and that was his first one. And he wrote some posts for Polygon that are very helpful about like how to get into it. I think maybe Ryan Gilliam also wrote some, but you guys have some good tips posts.
Oh,
So,
yeah. There's some very useful Monster Hunter Rise posts from Ryan and Russ.
You want to link a couple in the show notes?
Yeah, we'll link those in the show notes as well. And I would say, like, just if you can get yourself into the headspace to do a little bit of that work up front and like learn that stuff, the game is so fun once you learn just kind of the basics of one weapon and then maybe some wirebug tricks, all just kind of button combos and stuff. And then you'll kind of go from there, start customizing your inventory, whatever, and then you kind of get into it. But that's the thing, is getting over that first hump.
Cool.
Cool. All right. On that note, thank you again to everyone who wrote in questions and to all the questions that we read today. Let's take a break, and then we will be back with one more thing.
I'm John Moe. My show Depresh Mode is all about mental health. And this week, I talked with Amanda Knox. She spent 4 years in an Italian prison for a murder she didn't commit. That's a lot of trauma, and she's okay talking about it. If I touch on something that you'd rather not get into, just say so. We'll cut the whole exchange out, but it also seems like you're pretty open about a lot of things.
Yeah. I am having trouble imagining anything that you could talk to me about that
I know. What are we going to throw Amanda Knox with? Depresh Mode with John Moe, only on Maximum Fun.
For over a decade, Max FunCon has been an incredible weekend of learning, connecting, and laughing with folks in the Max Fun community. And, if all goes according to plan, the last regularly scheduled Max FunCon will take place in Lake Arrowhead from June 3rd to June 5th, 2022. We have a very limited number of tickets remaining. To make them available to the maximum number of people, we'll be opening our waitlist for tickets on January 23rd at 5 p.m. Pacific. That'll be your chance to be first in line to purchase tickets, and we'll go down the waitlist until we're at capacity. More details at maxfuncon.com, and mark your calendars for Sunday, January 23rd at 5 p.m. Pacific.
And we are back for one more thing. Maddy, why don't you kick us off with your one more thing?
Sure. So it's not Dark Souls, but it could have been, which was also true last week. I'm just saying that. I know that's not part of this, but I just want everyone to know that I'm still playing Dark Souls, and I'm not talking about it because I'm a nice person who doesn't want to talk about Dark Souls every single week. And instead, I'm going to talk about the anime Death Note from 2006, which I saw the pilot episode of Death Note probably around 2006, and I thought it was really cool and really sophisticated and awesome and badass. And I was like, great pilot. I'd love to watch the rest of this show. Never got around to it. Watch people cosplay as characters from Death Note for the next 10 years of my life, going to anime conventions, and kind of felt like I got the gist, learned a lot of spoilers, kind of was like, okay, yeah, sure. It's like I've seen Death Note at this point. Moved on. And then this week, I just had been talking at work with some people about anime, and I was like, I'd love something to watch just in the background of doing various things that I don't need to pay a ton of attention to. Death Note it's so great. It's so perfect for this. It's got a great dub. I know dubs or versus subs is like a whole thing. If you want to watch it with the subtitles, that's chill. But I think the dub is pretty good. It's pretty fun, and it's great for background laundry folding.
Yeah, I was going to say, can't watch the subtitles in the background.
Do you guys know anything about the show? Do you want to know the premise real quick? The elevator pitch?
Go ahead and tell us the premise.
A high school student who is poised to become a serial killer in terms of what his psychology is the main character of the show. And a spooky devil guy in the underworld drops his death notebook by accident. And he is a comical character who is basically the sidekick of the lead for the entirety of the show. And the lead finds that death notebook, the death note, if you will. And every time he writes down somebody's name in the book, which contains instructions on how to do this, that person will die. And it turns out that he can specify exactly how and when they will die. Wow. So he starts out in the pilot episode only killing criminals and being very moral and very terrifying, lawful.
Right, like Dexter Morgan.
Right, yeah. Like Dexter, yes. Except then, before long, things get out of control, and this incredible, almost Sherlock Holmes-esque figure, Elle, who is aware of, supernatural beings somehow, decides to get on the case and follow him and figure it out. And the entire thing is a cat and mouse. There's so much, gay shipping of these two male characters, understandably, because there's just endless, they're constantly one step ahead of each other at all times, and they have great chemistry. And also, every episode is Elle setting up a series of events that would absolutely make it so that Light is caught, Light being the main character, and then Light improbably somehow figuring out how to not be caught through an even more absurd series of events that you could never possibly guess.
Maddy, no wonder you like this. It's billions.
It's great. It's billions. It's billions. It's billions, but it's much more childish and silly and corny and soapy than Billions because it's from, 15 years ago. And it just, It allows itself to be very soapy in a way that I think in 2006 was really impressive to 16-year-olds, which valid, been there, but to a 35-year-old I find hilarious and like really charming and fun to watch. So yeah, I recommend it. Death Note, it's an anime. I'm watching it on Funimation through a subscription. It is not free, sadly.
Nice.
How about somebody else goes? Jason, you want to go next?
Yes, I will go next. My one more thing is a movie called Don't Look Up, which is a new Netflix movie that people have probably heard of.
Heard of it.
It's directed by Adam McKay, stars Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence, and I thought it was fine. I guess
Sort of what I've been
Seems to
hearing.
be the take.
it wasn't really that impressive. I was hoping for something, I don't know, maybe a little more biting, maybe a little more interesting. It's just kind of like a ho-hum satire that's like, look, people don't. So the premise is that like it's all a metaphor for climate change, and the premise is that this meteor is discovered that's about to crash into the earth and kill everybody. And shocker, some people don't believe in it and don't take it seriously. And there's like a bunch of like patriot YouTubers who are like, there is no such thing as a comet, or like it's not gonna, and essentially it's just like a send up of everything, all things climate change / pandemic / whatever else.
It sounds so fun.
Yeah, and it's like
I
it's
love
not,
to think about people denying the existence of either like a
Same.
pandemic or
Totally.
like planetary collapse.
It's my favorite
or-
vibe.
it's sort of, it's got that problem where that a lot of comedy has just had during the Trump era, where it's just
Yeah.
how do you satirize something
I
that's just
know.
this absurd, and how do
Yeah.
you even have effective satire when you're talking about people who just like don't believe in the fabric of reality, like don't
which
believe
is like
in truth.
sad to me. It's not funny. It's like sad. Anyway,
I think I
go
saw
on.
that they wrote most of the movie before COVID, and then when COVID was
Oof.
happening, or they had a version of it written and they were working on it, and then they kept being like, "Oh my god, like the stuff in our script is like literally happening. We need to make the script even more absurd."
But I feel like if anything, that's like a sign that it doesn't work. Is that it's like, oh no, the movie we wrote
That's
as
the
a joke
thing.
is now
Oh no,
real.
it's too real. It's just, it doesn't work because it's not that absurd. It's not that. It's not very funny. It's like the jokes
Yeah.
mostly miss. Leo DiCaprio was great because he's always great, and he
Yeah.
he acts his heart out in the movie, and he's very fun as this kind of schlumpy scientist character who like gets tempted by celebrity and gets tempted to like
Sure.
follow fame and fortune, even if it means abandoning science. And so there's some good stuff in there, but like in general, this is a movie that you can very easily skip. But it's also, if you have nothing else to watch and you're like just browsing Netflix, like no reason not to watch it. It's just that like, I don't know, I've liked Adam McKay's other stuff better. I really like The Big Short, for example, and whereas this did not work for me quite as well. I even liked Vice better than this, even though that had its own kind of issues. But yeah, this did not work for me quite as well.
Yeah, I kind of liked Vice. Thought it was interesting.
I never watched it.
Yeah, I thought it was another movie that was like really just Christian Bale's performance in that movie just really takes
He
it
was
to
quite good.
another level.
Amy Adams too.
Yes,
in that.
Amy Adams,
very good in
awesome.
that.
Also
I
really,
love her
really good in
and
that.
everything.
Yeah, maybe I'll watch it one day.
And then in Don't Look Up, Jonah Hill plays this like ridiculous character who is just like his like comedy is like, it's too, I don't know, something's off about
That's
it.
weird because he's so funny. It's like weird
He's
that
great.
it's such a
Yeah,
star-studded
he's phenomenal.
cast, but it just
I
doesn't.
mean,
quite
Meryl
hang
Streep is in
together.
this. There's a million people in it. Yeah.
Yeah, Meryl Streep is in it, and she is like, I don't know, it just didn't really work that well for me. But yeah, it is what it is. Kirk, what's your one more thing?
So my one more thing was gonna be a movie that I just watched called Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar, which I loved, and I want to recommend to everybody, but I don't want to tell people what it's about because it's just really funny. So I'm actually gonna make it a different movie.
Wow.
It is a different movie that I watched that I was much more mixed on, but that is actually also kind of more video game related. Because it's funny, all of our one more things for like 4 episodes have just been like, here's a show I caught up on.
I could have talked about Dark Souls again.
There's,
I've
like,
tried
that's
to
true.
spare everybody, okay?
Maddie is the true gamer among us.
I mean, we're gonna be like, we're in
No,
the
I
lull
know.
right now.
Oh,
we're
I
gonna
know.
be in gaming
Yep.
territory soon.
We're all pacing ourselves. I'm just sort of laughing. So I watched the movie Free Guy, which
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds.
yes, starring Ryan Reynolds. And I was kind of medium on it. It was fine. It was a fun time. It was diverting.
Was it better or worse than Ready Player One?
It's funny because it was co-written by Zach Penn, who I think also wrote the Ready Player One adaptation.
Cool.
I don't think it's different. They're both kind of on the same level for me. Like they're both kind of movies that I would just kind of watch if it was on. Like I find Ready Player One plenty watchable, the film. And this movie too is like fun, but it wasn't as good as it could have been because it kind of just didn't pick a lane. It's such a like mashup. So I should explain what this movie is. It's a weird movie that doesn't exist because it came out in 2021, mid-pandemic, but it's a pretty star-studded film. But also, like, I totally forgot about it. I remembered seeing a trailer and being like, holy shit, this is like some of the articles I wrote for Kotaku turned into a movie. The premise of this movie is that Ryan Reynolds is an NPC, essentially in GTA Online, in a sort of hybrid GTA Online Fortnite video game. And it looks like real life. And it's very Lego movie in the setup in that he is just like, woohoo, like gonna go to my job at the bank where I get held up every day. And there's player characters who come through the world and just blow things up and do whatever. And he just is like, oh, it's the sunglasses people. Like, and it's Ryan Reynolds doing that kind of cherubic, enthusiastic, goofy thing that he kind of does in Deadpool. Like it has a Deadpool vibe, but it's not quite as like cynical and self-aware in that way anyways. And then of course he realizes that he's in the game somehow and starts to change and break out of it. So it's sort of Truman Show-esque. It definitely has that feeling. And it's mixing a whole lot of different ingredients that I like. Like I love the Truman Show. That movie really holds up too, shockingly well. If you haven't watched it recently, it's a really great movie. And it gets kind of touching in parts, and it's kind of a really interesting thing. It is also, interestingly enough, a movie that is about my Gonzo prediction for 2022 coming true, which I watched it right after making that. A video game
character becoming self-aware.
Yeah. And anyways, I don't know. It has Jodie Comer in it from Killing Eve, which is pretty cool. It has a great cast. It really has a lot going for it. It's just kind of didn't quite come together into what I wanted it to be. Some of the jokes just try too hard. There's a lot of like YouTubers in it, which is pretty funny because it's like they're all people like Jacksepticeye and Pokimane. Like they're people who are big right now, but watching the movie, I was just like, this feels 100 years old. Like this already feels 100 years old. It's like from last century.
It's like becoming dated as it's coming out, even though it isn't dated yet. It's like you can imagine the version of yourself that sees it 3 years from now and is like, who the fuck is this? Like, who are these people?
So it's, it's an okay movie. I thought it's plenty diverting if you want something to watch, but as a video game movie goes, I felt that it fell far short of the Matrix Resurrections, which is maybe the best video game movie I've ever seen. So
it's pretty incredible.
It was a high bar that was recently set by that movie. So watching it, I was like, this is fine. But anyways, it's fine. It's plenty fun. I think people would find things to like about it. There's lots of Easter eggs and that kind of thing if you're into that. So pretty fun movie.
Lots of video game Easter eggs, like references to games hidden all throughout.
I'm sure there's like video game references that I didn't even get, but there's certainly, like a Halo tank keeps rolling around in the background and that kind of thing. And you're like, I'm a gamer. I got that one. I know what that is.
It's like
cool.
It's the metaverse. It's all the references, all the Ready Player One style references shoved into one.
It's very.
One
I mean, it's nowhere near like that. There's just a few. I mean, it mostly exists on its own logic. And I mean, there's a game development studio that is. It's funny watching it because you're just like, wow, like bears no resemblance to how game development works at all, except for I guess the fact that there's this like horrible toxic dude in charge, played by Taika Waititi, who's actually not as funny as I wanted him to be. So it's just like things about the movie. I'm like, man, I love Taika. Wanted him to be funny, and he's a pretty sweaty performance. But mostly, it's like just the fantasy logic of video game development, where they're like on their laptops changing the code of. It's kind of like Mythic Quest, like where they're like things just they need to work in a way that is unrealistic because who cares? It's better for the story. But it's sort of fun watching if you know even a little bit about game development.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. All right, that is it for this week's episode. We will be back once again next Thursday. Same time, same place, same channel,
same triple
podcast,
time, same triple
listening
channel.
Location, same Maddy catchphrase.
Clickety,
clickety,
click,
clickety,
click.
clack.
That's
clickety,
right.
click, clickety.
We'll be back with that. That's true.
All right. Well, I will see the both of you in a week.
And now for my real catchphrase. Bye.
Triple Click is produced by Jason Schreier, Maddy Myers, and me, Kirk Hamilton. I edit and mix the show and also wrote our theme music. Our show art is by Tom DJ. Some of the games and products we talked about on this episode may have been sent to us for free for review consideration. You can find a link to our ethics policy in the show notes. Triple Click is a proud member of the Maximum Fun Podcast Network, and if you like our show, we hope you'll consider supporting us by becoming a member at MaximumFun.org/join. Find us on Twitter at TripleClickPod, send email to tripleclick@MaximumFun.org, and find a link to our Discord in the show notes. Thanks for listening. See you next time.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture.
Artist owned.
Audience supported.